Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten. And in this episode, I want to talk to you about, if you're on social media at all, you know, rhetoric around narcissistic and toxic men is rampant. It's everywhere. And I consciously have opted out of that type of discussion for a few reasons, quite a few reasons. And the biggest one is that since I started Awakening Women and started talking about these topics, my goal has always been to bring the focus back to you. And what I have seen happen with women and transform with women in a very short period of time, sometimes it takes a little longer than, sometimes it can take a year or more, but typically it happens very quickly in comparison to all of the years they've been trying to go it alone and figure out what the fuck is going on with this relationship. What is he? What is going on with him? And when you are listening to things people say, little sound bites about quote unquote narcissists and toxic this and that, and this is what they do and this is what they do, there's a place for it because we do have to be able to validate that, yes, something really fucked up is going on here. This is not me. I am not crazy. I'm not insane, even though I feel like it. I'm not feeling like myself. I feel like I'm losing myself. My spark is gone. My joy is gone. My usual drive and ambition has been dulled. My mood is not great. My health is declining. My usual spark for life has been put out. And you can try all kinds of things and wonder what it is that you need to do, and you're trying all kinds of external things, and none of it actually works. And one of the things that is really important to understand about this stay or go conversation and about what do I decide to do, what do I do, it's a very personal decision. And I do not tell women what to do unless you are being hit and there's volatility and danger and really extreme levels of outright abuse. You have to decide when enough's enough for you. I'm not here to tell you what to do, and I'm here to give you the tools, the awareness, the processes, the mentorship, the guidance, the tough love, the no bullshit perspectives to help you step into your power, step into your spine. And so through my own healing, even from the beginning, I was really careful to not throw around the narcissist thing. And I did go through a period where I could not write anymore about that, especially on Instagram. I just don't want to be part of the mainstream. I can't explain it in any other way. I actually am here for the women who want depth. This is something that I've become aware of. So it's not even that my heart is not with helping women empower themselves, because it is. Except it's not just about men. It's not just about your relationship. It's about your relationship to you. And this has been my work and the premise of my work since the beginning. If you go back and you listen to one of my first ever episodes, some of the stuff I was talking about then, I'm still talking about it now because I believe in it that much. Holistic healing, taking the mind-body approach, using the psychology along with energy and emotion and physical. And I bake that into my processes and in my private mentorship. And so it may seem as though I've been kind of back and forth with where I'm going with this, and there's a reason for that, and it's because I've been going through my own evolution and getting clarification on my own patterns and things that I have allowed and more recently allowed. And I think it's important that everyone can see that I'm evolving as well, even though I am a leader in the space and I have built the following and the podcast and the successful business and all of that. I am also human and I can fall into old patterns as well. So it's not about the falling into old patterns, it's being able to catch yourself in those patterns and pause and notice yourself there. And so I really wanted to evolve what it is that I talk about, because I really love talking about reclamation after divorce, and even like, how do you move on from that? How do you consider other relationships? How do you dabble in relationships and dating without losing yourself completely and giving away all your power and fucking yourself over once again, should you fall into another misaligned situation? Because the chances of that happening are very high if you already have patterns of being with these types of men. And even if you've done a lot of work, it can still happen. But where the work shows up is your awareness happens quicker. You're going to catch yourself in it and you're going to notice. And so I've worked with women who have been dating or in relationships after a tumultuous relationship and a very difficult divorce. And some of them are saying, I just want to date, keep it light, have fun, maybe casual relationships, because you're in a place where you're not looking to plan a family and do all that because you've already done it. For most women in my space, they're mostly midlife women. Some women that have come in have been younger. But for the most part, the majority of women that come to me are in that midlife range. And so they've probably already done all that stuff. And so now they're like, well, now what? So I really love that. And that's what I'm talking about over on the Self-Sourced Woman Show. It is on Spotify. So if you want to be part of more of the conversations I'm having around that side, then go ahead and follow me over there. But I have decided for this show that I'm primarily going to have it be a replay and highlight reel show where I'm bringing back episodes as far back as 2019 that had thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads that were really, really popular. And it's interesting. I've been trying to figure out for the last couple of years where my listenership really went down, because I stopped talking about those things. My engagement went down on my Instagram account to almost like nothing, because I stopped talking about those things and I stopped wanting to post about them. It's actually been really challenging for me to figure out, where do I go from here, because I put myself in this box of that this is what I'm talking about. So I'm really just kind of speaking freely about this. If you've been around long enough, and some women have been here since 2019. Some women have been on my email list since 2019. And so some of you have been through this journey. Some women started with my ETC and then they continue on with mentorship with me, private mentorship, or they come into the collective that I have now, which is my group mentorship space, my intimate group mentorship space that is for small, intimate space. It's meant for you to be able to drop in, get mentorship, get your daily wisdom nuggets in there while I do daily broadcasts in the Telegram channel, private podcast episodes that are only for the members, and you get access to my entire Awakening Women program vault. So you get my relationship clarity method, you get my She's Moving On, the Aligned Women, and Strong Enough to Lead, which is my exit planning course. So you get access to everything over the 6 months and beyond if you stay the first 6 months, and then you can stay on month to month from there. But this is the next best thing if you want to get mentorship from me that doesn't have the private mentorship price tag. So you're going to want to get yourself in there before the pricing goes up. It is going to continue to go up because my vision for this space is intimate. We're going to go deep. This is not going to be a really busy Facebook group with a lot of side chat about what he's doing, the narcissistic conversations. It's about you doing the work and then doing the check-ins. Because here's the thing about therapy and one-off sessions. And I still do one-off sessions, not as much anymore. Most of my private mentorship is happening in Telegram now. But if someone pays for a 1 hour one-off to get on with me, the price tag is higher than if you were to just go with the Telegram, which is still in depth. But the women who are in my Telegram spaces, they get more transformation because they're able to come in the moment when something is present for them and post it while it's alive in them in the moment. And this can be more beneficial than showing up for a scheduled session. And then sometimes you're like, I don't really have anything to talk about right now. I feel like nothing's really happened, or I don't really have anything to bring up. I've had this happen where I've had long-term clients and they're having weekly sessions and they've done so much work that they're kind of like, I don't think I really have anything else. Like, it's already done. So the work is not what happens in session, no matter what you're doing, therapy, coaching, mentorship, whatever it is. The actual work happens in the integration. It's what happens in between. And so this is why having this daily access, this weekly ability to get your questions answered in the collective, or the daily access in my private mentorship, it's not for everyone. It's for the woman who really is high level. You're a high earning woman. You are a career woman, a successful business owner, a leader, CEO, and you want to optimize your life. You know your relationship is holding you back from your next level of success. And these relationships do hold you back from your next level of success, health, brilliance. They age you. As soon as you start pulling yourself out of the craziness, it's like you age backwards. You get your glow back. You just start looking better because you're not being energetically siphoned from. And so I just really want this for women. I want women to be able to really stand in their own power and be unapologetic with no longer allowing any toxic shit in their lives. And so, you know how some people will say, oh, I hate the word toxic. And I've heard that. And it's like, yeah, in a therapeutic realm, as a counselor, sure, that might be like, oh, we don't use that because we can all be toxic. Sure, we absolutely can. But let's talk about the actual definition of toxic. I just pulled it up here on Google. Harmful or dangerous to health or life when taken into the body, poisonous, the dumping of toxic waste, very harmful or unpleasant in a pervasive or insidious way. That really is all we need to know. It doesn't matter if he's a narcissist, an avoidant, emotionally unavailable. He's had childhood trauma. He's got ADHD. He's got autism. He has this, that, and the other personality disorder. We're trying to, unless you have a PhD in psychology, you shouldn't be trying to diagnose anybody's personality. What I guide women to do is owning their own truth. What is this doing to me? How is this toxic to my body, my nervous system, my emotional health, my well-being, my mental health? That's all you need to know. So I just wanted to pop on while I had this present within me, because this has been an evolution for me to not want to be continually talking about narcissistic dynamics and what's happening. And that's why I am creating this show primarily as a highlight reel and the best of replay. I'll put in clips of other things that I have done already that teaches you all about the actual dynamics, because yes, you do need to know. All right, yes, I am dealing with something very, very toxic and unhealthy that is not going to change, versus, okay, there's some unhealthy dynamics here that I can take ownership of my end. Some of it is stuff that maybe there could be work done if both people were fully on board with doing their own work, and you do not take on any ownership for work that is not your work to do. That is the key. And so it's really important to have that understanding of the difference between what's workable, what can be changed, and what is not. And here's how you know. Has this particular pattern that is causing you harm, there's a cost to it mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, success, physically, if I already said that, I always forget. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, in your success, in your energy. So is the pattern that is impacting and has a cost to one or more areas of those pieces of your life, is it pervasive? Has it been going on for years? Despite you doing your best to articulate it, express it, share why you don't like it, why it hurts, why it's not okay, why you don't want to hear that or experience that, but it keeps happening. That, to me, is really all women need to know. Let's just boil it down to someone having no empathy for your boundaries, because someone that has no empathy will continue to walk all over your boundaries and not care about how that feels for you. They are not cherishing you. They are not respecting you. And that's all we need to know. It doesn't matter why. This whole narcissist conversation is keeping women trapped because they're trying to figure out, is he, isn't he? Because he has some of these over here, but not over here. And he can be so wonderful over here. And he has maybe this or that tendency sometimes, but not all these other 5. Or he doesn't do this, he does that. So women get trapped in this. So when you're making the decision about whether to stay or go, beyond the initial awareness of like what's toxic behavior, toxic treatment, toxic boundary violations, is that it's not a logical process. And high achieving women, we get really analytical in our minds. And we are trying to read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, listen to all the narcissistic traits and behaviors and the endless plethora of shit that is available on this topic. And so we fill our heads with all of this thinking that that's going to give us the clarity, but then it doesn't. And so we try therapy, and a therapist can only go so far. If they don't know how to spot these insidious dynamics, they're going to overlook it. They're going to tell you to schedule sex, schedule dates, and they're going to give you interventions that they don't make sense if you are experiencing toxic dynamics. They might even fire you and tell you they can't work with you anymore if they're seeing it, which I experienced one time. That was quite unfortunate. So there's a limit to what therapy can do. We can't be looking external for someone else to rescue us. And this is what I see women doing. So when you come in and you work with me, you come into the Self-Source Collective, I am not there to rescue you. I'm there to empower you. And I will tell you the truth, and I will give you challenge and support, because we need both. As one of my mentors that I worked with long ago, he said, we all need, as humans, challenge and support. And I've always looked at what I do when I was a counselor and as I'm mentoring now is, how can I challenge and support my clients and my women? And sometimes it bumps up against discomfort, and that's okay. As a true leader, that's my job. That's how I see my job. So if a woman is sharing something and I'm seeing she's putting herself in that, or she's self-sabotaging, or she's not looking at it correctly, or she's not taking self-ownership, she's outsourcing blame, then I will point it out, because I want you to grow. I want you to grow past, I'm the victim. We got to move out of that. We really do. So this conversation around the toxic man puts women in the victim, poor me. And yes, there are victims. I am not here to victim blame. There are things that happen that we have zero control over and that we don't have any agency. But when we're adults and we are participating in ongoing relationship dynamics that are not serving us, and we know they're not, and we keep going into them with no change, then we are not a victim. We're choosing that. So we've got to get out of victim mentality, blaming him. That doesn't mean to say that there isn't sadness or grief around how you've been treated because you wanted to be treated a different way and you wanted something different in the relationship. That's fine. But we also have to take ownership that's like, yeah, I chose this. I made choices to enter into this. I've made choices to whatever, commit, have a family, get married, buy a house, intermingle our lives, our finances, businesses. Women can get so deep. I have seen women so deep in this. One woman very early on, she was an older woman, been married for like, I think 30 something years. It was one of my first end the cycle cohorts. It was the one, there's some that really stand out. And this was one because she had no income. She was fully dependent on her husband. They lived on a farm. She had a whole life there. I interviewed her here. She's somewhere way down in the podcast in probably 2019. And she, in her 50s, got to the place through working with me that she was able to leave. She went back to school. She went into nursing, and she really did rewrite her life. And she was one that was messaging me, freaking out about the cost to join my program. At the time, I think it was $9.97 for the 30-day boot camp. And I just said to her, listen, it's totally up to you. You have to make this choice for you, but recognize this is an investment in you, and only you can make that decision. And for some reason, that just flipped a switch for her. She jumped in and never looked back, and it completely changed her life very quickly. By the end of the program, she posted in the Facebook group a photo of her loaded up truck that she was leaving her home with. I get goosebumps still talking about that. Why I'm sharing that is because you can reclaim your power at any time. And yes, sometimes you might need someone else to hold you and believe in you and be able to walk you through those really difficult moments when you finally start standing in your spine and choosing yourself and setting boundaries and walking away from things that are toxic for you, that are harming you mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, success-wise. Because if you are with someone who has toxic behavior patterns that are not changing, they're not doing the work because they think you're the problem, remember, it absolutely is fucking with your vibration. It's messing with your ability to make the money you could be making, especially if you are a business owner and you and your energy and how you're showing up day to day is being impacted because of the dynamics in the relationship. It takes your energy. So you don't have it to put toward the things you need. If you have an online business or you're an entrepreneur and you are the engine of that business, even if you have people that you hire or have a team, you're still the engine of that business. So if you are not doing well, that ripples into every single area and your clients, all of it. So it is costing you. Tally up how much it's cost you. So this was more of kind of a riff because as I'm just actually doing some things in the back end of my portal, I'm creating a condensed version of my original End the Cycle process, and I am putting it together as its own standalone course so that if you are wanting that deep dive in the dynamics, how to recognize covert emotional manipulation and abuse, covert toxicity, where you can actually see that this is beyond just emotional invalidation or emotional disconnection, that there's actually something more going on underneath that you're not able to see. And so that is what I'm known for, is helping women to understand the covert, subtle types of abuse that can go on that is quite hidden. But when you start to know what to look for, the signs, how to know what it sounds like, what it looks like, what it feels like, then you have the embodiment, the integration of it to go, oh, that's what that is. That's why I've been feeling like that. Then you step into your power. This is what gives you so much clarity. And so I'm going to be putting that together. And so this is what kind of tripped me to hit record here as I was going through all of the modules and everything that I teach in that original course, because I go into gaining awareness of the cycle and the patterns. And I do talk about it from the frame of narcissistic abuse, only because it does have its own kind of like crazy making ways. It's insanity is what it is. It does make you question your own sanity. It's dizzying. It's something you can't even explain. It is so fucked up. That is beyond someone who maybe just has some controlling tendencies or some emotional unavailability, or is perhaps emotionally invalidating at times and maybe just isn't good for you, is not something that's good for you. That is different. That still might mean that the relationship cannot be fixed because it won't work for you, because it's toxic to you and your nervous system. But I do want to be able to help you identify the cycle. How do you define if it's covert narcissistic abuse, especially when it's hidden and you can't quite put your finger on it? You just know, as I've said in this episode, that it is impacting you on all levels. And then I go into the signs of subtle emotional and psychological abuse. So between those two classes, they're audio classes, that is 1 hour where I go really deep into that, and I don't go deep into that anywhere else. It's those two are the thing that has always given women this insane amount of clarity, because I go deep into what it looks like. And then you're going to discover your emotional triggers and how to transform them so that you're not feeling kind of whipped around and thrown in many different directions. So I'm going to put that together with my couple of boot camps probably. And so if that's something that you would like to get started on so that you can get clarification on what is actually at the root of the ongoing relationship issues, the link for that will be in this episode show notes. All right, this has been a bit longer. I apparently had a lot to say here. Sometimes just doing a riff without my notes and all my prep is just what happens, because I've been doing this work for a long time, and I had just become aware recently that I work best in depth. I work best in being able to deliver really deep level content. And I can only do that so far on the podcast or on an Instagram post. Because I do my deep level work, I reserve that energy for women who invest in getting that mentorship, right? That's how energy works. There's reciprocity there. There's financial and emotional investment where women get obviously a much deeper level of guidance through my videos, through my trainings, through my classes, through my meditations and activations that I write and I record and I hand select the music. Like, I create these things to be an energetic imprint. And I am a deep woman. I don't like surface level. That's probably why I don't love talking about here's like 10 narcissistic traits. I'd rather say, hey, guess what? These are actually things you're tolerating in your relationship that you don't need to be. I would much rather say, here is what women are not taking accountability for, and stand in your power. Because the only way you're ever going to break the patterns that are painful in your life and in your love life is if you stand in your power. You really get in your power. And as my mentor would always say, stand in your spine. You're not standing. He said that to me once, and I'll never forget that. This is a mentor I worked with many years ago, and I still follow him, listen to his podcast. He's awesome. But it was something that really stood in my mind. Like, you're not standing in your spine here. That did not offend me. I didn't feel like, oh, he's blaming me and I'm a victim. That was like, oh, I really needed to hear that. Stand my spine. Okay. That is what standing in your core power is. That's what you need to do. You got to stop blaming men and start taking ownership for why you have overlooked things, let things slide, let things go, minimize things, let it happen again and again and again, despite that you have expressed that it's not okay with you, and it keeps happening. So I hope this helped you, and maybe this is something you needed to hear today, and I will chat with you in the next edition. Bye for now.